We're live. Yay.
How's it going?
It's going. Modern Relics podcast. I'm Angel. He's lucky we're back. It's the usual, but it's not usual. It's never usual with us. You know that?
Mm-mm.
Like, we talk an awful lot and way more now than years past, just life on life's terms and stuff. And there's always something new to talk about, and it's always fun. I love it.
I honestly, I can't wait. I kind of store stuff up
Yeah.
throughout the week because I know we get to kind of go over it in a robust fashion every Tuesday.
You're like, I could tell him something
but-
cool, but that would be a sick pod angle, so I'm just going to stuff it until
Right.
Tuesday.
yeah. I mean, we do get to see each other more than once a week. Like we spend Monday nights hanging out together, but that is for a different, more kind of relaxed purpose. We game together, and then periodically throughout the week, if something is funny or important, we'll probably send each other a meme or quick little message here and there, or you'll call me up and say, "You'll never guess who I ran into today at Starbucks." You know, like. Which was the lead singer of Aerosmith, by the way, folks.
It's true. Did I not go over that on the pod last week? There was a lot that happened post holidays. Yeah, it was during our holiday break. There's a Starbucks close by me. I went there to grab some gift cards to stuff in stockings, and this dude I was like the only one in the lobby, like fidgeting with the little paper envelope sleeve that they go in, and I'm kind of like slowly drifting back to the door to go out and get in I was driving the truck, and this guy walks in and I didn't even look up, and then he kind of like stepped in front of me, like between where this is where you collect your drink part of the counter is, and I looked up and he looked and we met eye contact, and I was just like, "Steven Tyler?" And he was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Whoa." Like, you have awesome vocal range, man. Keep up the good work. He's like, "Thanks." And like grabs his drink and then turns around to the put stuff in your drink mini bar by the door, and puts a little cream in there, and then holds the door open for me, and we both walk out, and he hops into the passenger seat of one of those multiple person Teslas, the bubbly looking one.
Yeah.
And there was like 3 or 4 other people in the vehicle with him, and I went that way and he went that way, and it was crazy. In hindsight, I didn't even notice who he was until he walked this way, kind of thing, which was great in hindsight. But yeah, I was like, wow, I just ran into Steven Tyler. How crazy is that? I don't have too many celebrity like introduction stories. I've got 4 or 5 throughout my life, which has been probably more than the average Joe. But yeah, it was pretty cool. So I met Steven Tyler a couple of weeks ago.
And you told me after my question, which was the appropriate amount with the understanding of where you live. I asked how many scarves he had on. You said just one, because it's the desert. Because it's the desert. But what surprised me is that Steven Tyler, man of the people, gets his own coffee.
Yeah. I mean, I guarantee that was a order ahead thing through the app and slide in the door to pick it up and get back in the car, but he didn't have someone go get it for him, which was great. But it's funny because many people that I've told that to, friends of mine and stuff, have all had way different reactions too. Like, you know, did you take a picture with him? And I'm like, nah, it wasn't the right environment. Like, oh, okay. I've got, did you tell him Liv Tyler's hot? No, I didn't. Hey, by the way, you know,
hey, your daughter's
smoking hot. Like, is she gonna do more of those like Lord of the Rings movies, or you know? No, I didn't say that. I had somebody was like, well, you should have asked if he could pick up your drink. That guy's worth a ton of money. And I'm like, that's what I'll do. Like,
can you buy my coffee?
Yeah. Hey, while you're here, I don't know, maybe slide a mocha my way. You know, what do you think? What?
Hey, you're Rockstar. You're Rockstar. You got any drugs I can have?
Yeah. Yeah, like
that kind of.
What's holding you together? Various amphetamines and high degrees of success and money. You know, yeah. But what was funny is he did have a scarf on and like the vagabond chic, you know, the dirt stash and the stringy long hair and the gray everywhere and stuff. And I was like, this guy looks identically to how you have ever seen him in front of a camera, on stage, in a music video. Like, he probably has millions of scarves and just rolls out of bed looking like Steven Tyler on TV. Yeah, that was it. Eyeliner, the whole thing. It was great. It's like taller than you'd
fun
think.
Little sighting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little taller than I'd expected him to be. I thought he was a shorter guy, but you know, wide angle lenses. What are you gonna do? So yeah, that was kind of weird. But no, some stuff I'll just call you, be like, dude, the damnedest thing happened. But no, I look forward to it.
Yeah.
I'm doing okay. Like, work is work, and that never ceases to be an absolute participation in zoo animals throwing feces at one another all day. But it keeps the lights on. That's about me. How was your week?
Fairly uneventful. Well, kind of uneventful. I, just had my regular work week, kind of trudged through that. Some fun pieces here and there to do, but I've been going down, instead of like, the proverbial K-hole, ketamine hole that people talk about, I've been going down what I call the L hole, which is a Lego hole.
Yeah.
I get stuck in these time warps of putting together this Millennium Falcon in the other room over here, and it has been eating up my time, and I get lost in it. So outside of that, I have a really weird update from last week's episode. And by weird, I mean it's 100% an answer to prayer. It's 100% a God thing. So we were talking about our goals. We weren't really kind of putting down, resolutions or whatever, but just kind of our goals. And you went through yours, and then I went through kind of the financial stuff that I kind of wanted to do, and then like clean out my garage and stuff. But then I really kind of focused on some type of ministry work. I've been open to it for a while, but my schedule had been kind of rocky and not really open to that kind of thing. But it's just really been tugging on my heart, and I didn't know what it looked like, what capacity, whether it be, helping with young adults ministries or some other kind of way to serve the church. And the very next night, next day I went to church, and I didn't have, or went to work, but we didn't have a 5 o'clock. And if I don't have a 5 o'clock appointment, we have Wednesday night church, and they serve dinner, and it's kind of more of a like answer, question and answer first, with a little Bible study, and then a question and answer where people can ask the pastors different questions. And sometimes they have like little other things, like missionaries will come in and talk about stuff that they've done that we help and things like that. So it's just a kind of Wednesday night fellowship gathering with some type of event. So
do you consider that like the B-sides that didn't make the Sunday service cut?
Sometimes it's questions about the Sunday service. Like, so, but so there's, in the sanctuary, which used to be a movie theater, there's the two doors on either side, and there's the center door, but on either side there's two doors, and that's where they put the food service, and people line up, and then everyone just gets a plate, and then they dish up, and then they go around. Well, this week we went to church, and they had pulled pork sandwiches, which were delightful. Joel made them, and it was great. And I had gotten one, and so I went around to get second one. And as I'm walking up the line, I had gotten everything else, and the guy standing right in front of me, they scooped the last scoop of pulled pork onto his sandwich. No! And I was like, oh, no. So they have more across the other side, but crossing the sanctuary is kind of a minefield, because there's tables and chairs and old people, just meandering around. So I thought I'd go out into the lobby and cut around and then come in the other doors. And so as I'm doing that, I walk out, and my dear friend, Mike Talon, who is an old friend of mine, but he is also the head of security for our church, has been for a while. And our security team is vast. We have 34 to 36 guys on the security team mainly due to the fact, which is large for a church, but it's mainly due to the fact that we tend to poke the bear a lot as a church. And we get a lot of people from different factions very upset with us for stating the truth and being very upfront about it and being very in the public square, and not being ashamed of the politics of which we find to be biblical. So we put a target on ourselves, and we know that. So we provide a very robust security team. And so as I'm walking through, and I've helped out with the security team, like with the Charlie Kirk events and with other events that have happened with political figures and such. So they're very aware of me because of the stuff that I do with Pastor Paul and with Aaron and all of the legislature and stuff. We're kind of known as the people who know everything in that.
Yeah, between the two of you, you're very plugged in to lots of stuff across your town. Yeah.
Right. So I'm walking through just looking to get some more pulled pork. You know, my brain is on one thing, right? And I'm walking through the lobby and I hear, "Hey, Lucky." And I look over and Mike's sitting at the door because we keep the doors locked and have someone open the door for anybody wanting to come in. And he's at doorpost and he's opening up the door for a little kid who ran in, and he's just sitting there with the door open, and he goes, "Hey, when are you going to join the security team?" And I was like, well, there it is, God. You actually literally opened a door and made it so painfully obvious. So it's like, give me just a second. So I went and put my plate down and came back, and he not only invited me to be on the team, but they are putting together a intelligence group to kind of monitor stuff going on in the area to keep a heads up. And he really wants me on the team because I know all the faces of all the players in the area. I know all the baddies and all the goodies, and I know everybody in between. So he said, "We need somebody like you. We were actually discussing you when we were talking about the intelligence team. Would that be something you'd be interested in heading?" And I went, "Sure, absolutely. If you think it would be of service and it would be helpful, I will gladly put whatever knowledge or capability I have in that regard." So I filled out the application, obviously got accepted immediately. So now I have my interview on Saturday where they'll be interviewing me for the same thing that they do with everybody else. And then they'll run a background check on me.
I have some questions. Yeah.
Okay.
First of all, do you think you're going to pass selection?
Pass selection?
Yeah.
Meaning?
Well, I assume it's going to be like Hell Week and Buds, where like the Navy SEALs get trained, where you have to go through some stuff. That's going to be tough if you're not ready, both physically and mentally. And then secondarily, if you think you can get through that, because I know you're a pretty stubborn guy when you lock onto something.
Oh, yeah.
What happens when they find out you're a Fed?
I think that's actually why they want me, is to get the feds on their side.
Perfect. This is great news.
Yeah.
You'll be heading the, I don't know, cyber unit by next Friday. It's awesome.
Right. Yeah. So, no, but there is actually training. There's an extensive amount of training, and they actually do. They do a lot of ops training, but they also do a lot of firearm training, and a lot of vets that we've got within the group. They're all joking that I'm actually bringing the age average down for the security team because they're all in their 50s and 60s, right? So we've got a few younger guys, but I'm bringing the ultimate average down. But they do qualifying training. They actually work with up at Fernan, they work with one of the guys up there to actually do legitimate training.
Mhm.
And so, and then they actually do ops training on site and protocol training and all the different, everyone's radioed up and positioned in different parts of the building. And it actually is a pretty secure place. I would be, anybody would be hard pressed to get in and out of there undetected or uh, to cause any trouble at all. They would not be able to do it. It's kind of a fortress. So, but it's a way to serve, and so I get to do 3 services. We have 4 services a week. So I told them, yeah, the 7 a.m. ain't happening.
Mhm.
But the other 3, I could do the other 3. I could do, and help with security during the other 3 services, and even Wednesday nights, maybe here and there. But yeah, that's and any events. So that's actually what he really wants to use me for, is if we do, because our church actually puts together like town hall for a
Yeah.
lot of the state legislators, and we always have like the lieutenant governor or senators or in our church, and so
Yeah.
they need security detail, and he wants me to be a part of the security detail for that.
Wow.
So but yeah, so answer to prayer immediately, like,
Yeah, no doubt. Less than a full 24 hours after we talked about it. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, it was nuts.
yeah, I think that's a sign for sure. Are you excited about it?
I'm just happy to have a place to serve. It's not something
Sure.
I'm like, I'm Mr. Security guy. I do have a good,
You have a great instinct for it. Yeah.
I do have a great instinct for it, but I also have a good kind of realm of perception. I'm aware of everything at all times. I'm always scanning everybody's faces. Even if you don't realize it in a crowd, I know who everybody in the crowd is. And my wife will tell you that it's just the case. I can pick people out and go, that person's a problem, and I do have a good instinct for it. So it is something that I think that I will be able to use those skill sets to help the church. And that's what I'm excited about. What I've come to find out, because it spread like wildfire, is that the security team is actually extremely excited that I'm joining it. And
Nice.
I ended up tattooing one of the security guys, because I tattoo most of them anyway. But like, one of the security guys came in the very next day. My friend Gary came in the very next day to get tattooed, and he was like, dude, you have no idea, it just went down the chain. Everybody's like, did you hear Lucky's joining the security team? And so I'm happy that they see an asset in me.
Mhm.
I didn't expect it. I was just like, oh no, it's just an extra body, because they're kind of low on guys for certain things, right? But no, apparently they are very surprisingly excited to have me on the team, and I am grateful for it. I'm grateful that there was a need that our church had, and that God saw a place to fill it with me and use me as that vessel. So that's where my excitement comes from, is that God said, hey, you asked, and I have a spot for you. Here it is. So I'm going to go into it with the commitment and fervor that God would want from me. And so that's where I'm going with it. But yeah, no, it's great.
Dude, that's
So-
exciting. Like, first of all, congrats. That's really cool, especially with as fast a turnaround as that opportunity sprung up. Secondly, in hindsight, if it were me, I may have tried to leverage 1 or 2 more pulled pork sandwiches out of the deal.
Right.
Like, well, think
Which,
about
by
it.
the
If
way, I never got that second pulled pork sandwich.
Yeah.
It was gone by the time I
Like,
got there.
what's happening here? Like, we gonna backfill that pulled pork sandwich my way a little bit? Something.
Right.
What does the budget look like for pulled pork on this outfit? No, I mean, overall, I think it's probably going to be perfect. Like, it gives you an entryway to learn. I would just you know, offer advice when it's asked for and learn a whole bunch and get to know their operational stuff and be an asset
Absolutely.
and learn a bunch. I think it's going to be great, dude. I think you're going to love it.
Yeah.
I know that they're, because I had gone to a service there last time I was up in your neck of the woods. And I felt like I was kind of picked out of the crowd a little bit by some watchful eyes right off the bat. And I was like, they have a security team here for sure. Nobody was like rude or standoffish. It was just kind of notable that like, oh, this is a face we don't know. That kind of thing. So, but I think it's cool.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm actually excited to be on the other side of the fence of being part of the security detail as opposed to the security detail being applied to me.
Right.
And by that, I don't mean that they're like looking to get me. I'm saying that we have actually, because of our interactions in the community and the threats to us and the threats to the church, they've actually had to put security detail on my wife and I and Stephanie and
all the rabble rousers.
But we've been part of that where they have been given instruction to make sure that when we're in the building that there are multiple people having kind of roving with us. And I'm glad that I get to be on the other side and be able to actually help out with those concerns rather than be the item of concern.
Yeah.
So
I do think it would be an absolute choice idea, probably not at first, but over time when there's trust and a comfort level built up there, that I presume they have meetings and stuff. So each time you connect with this group, once everyone's comfortable, try to bring something new and outlandish every time. Like, and I got you all pagers, and like hand them these pagers that you got from like eBay or something for really cheap, and be like, now we can page out if there's a 913. And oh, by the way, here's the list of call out codes, that I expect everyone to memorize, and like just start implementing really outlandish stuff to see what lands and see how far you can push it, like if it's possible to like introduce face paint somehow. Or, I mean, I know you have night vision. You could bring it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I just show up every Sunday with my night vision.
Oh, dude, that'd be so sick.
Yeah, they're like, oh, wow, he's taking this real seriously.
Yeah, like new protocol. Check it out. If we cut the lights in the congregation, if there's an emergency, here's a set of nods we can get on and scan around. Something. You gotta,
I got all these smoke bombs on.
Secret society pins you can keep under the lapel to show off that you're part of the group. I don't know.
That's right.
Yeah. No, all jesting aside, I do think this is really cool. I was thinking, because we had talked about this briefly last night, and I was thinking about it quite a bit today. I was like, I don't think there's a better fit initially right away that you would be more of an asset in than an opportunity like that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But it's something that I think there's a lot of opportunity for me to serve, and that's really where my heart is. I'm not looking for it to be anything other than that. I just, whatever doors keep opening in order for me to continue to serve in some capacity, because at one point in time, I wanted to be a pastor. Before I became a tattoo artist, that was one of the things that I was actually going to Bible school for, was to become a pastor. That's a hard sell these days, and I recognize that. I recognize that there's probably ministry within the jail or recovery programs that I might, but I've never been to jail. I've never gone through recovery. I'm kind of in this weird gray zone where I'm too edgy to be an actual pastor, but too not edgy enough to be able to relate with these guys who actually need that type of ministry. Now, so So I'm kind of in this weird gray area. So I think that this is the proper place to put me, where I can, we can pray together, we can do Bible studies as a group together, and then help make sure and maintain the safety of the people going to that church, and bring peace to that church through presence, and be able to create a godly path for other men who might be in the same vein we are in,
Yeah.
where we have skill sets that need to be applied, and this is the application that seems God needs us. And
Yeah.
so I'm just happy to serve. So
That's exciting. Yeah, I couldn't fathom a good spot for me in a situation like that. I might be like the fourth string Sunday school teacher where they're like, we have a bunch of call outs and there's me with the kids. And on the whiteboard, I'm like, so this is Pharaoh. And he was really dishing out punishment, right? Like things were not going good. Stuff was happening. I want to talk about pillars of fire. So here's what we're going to do. Everyone stand back, put the glasses on.
You can become like Bill Nye, the Bible guy.
Right?
Yeah.
Timmy, put the lighter down. It's not time yet.
Yeah.
I don't know. No, I do think that's rad.
In a church scenario, I think you two would be an excellent choice for security detail of any kind. Intelligence detail, obviously, as well. But I think both of us would also kick a little A in the kitchen as well. Because you and I can throw down on some food. That's
one thing we're good at is we can cook with very little ingredients. We can find something.
Yeah, it's true.
It's very good at it.
My wife is currently smoking a ham above my head right now. So yeah,
that's awesome, dude. What did I want to talk about? I wanted to shout out my boy. We talked about my friend Dan. Dan is one of those really cool cats that has a very, very special place in my heart. When my brother, because I met him through youth group. When my brother died when I was like 13, his family kind of took me in to get me off of that nightmare property loop for a while. And I got to stay with them for a long while. And like, we've just been very close since then. He's had some medical stuff because he's got kind of a bum ticker and back and forth. But he's always been, and I touched on this a little bit on the last pod. We reviewed one of his scripts. But he's always been a super creative guy, very, very funny dude, like extraordinarily tack sharp wit in almost any situation. Like, he can carve off a one-liner as a rebut to a conversation in progress with no context. Like, he's that guy.
Him and I have gone back and forth for years with that wit of his, and it's fantastic.
He's the best. And so he's getting more and more involved. I'm being as encouraging as possible with pure honesty, because if something is weird in the stuff that he's writing, I'll point it out and be like, why is this way? Or have you thought about this or that or whatever? So I don't just, he's my boy, I'm going to blindly support him no matter what, but he's very good at what he's doing. Very good.
Right.
And he sent me another script, and I just want to shout it out. Like, whatever the creative Kool-Aid is that he's been drinking over the last year and a half or 2 years is really working. This latest one is very, very good. It's something that is at a high surface level, is extraordinarily inexpensive to shoot, and again, super well thought out, well developed. But the best part is a lot of doors are opening now for him where he may get a chance to shoot this thing. And like, recently had some financial doors open, which are great. Went on Facebook Marketplace, found a cinema grade camera for a fraction of what it cost new, with a bunch of accessories and stuff that he was able to pick up. Has contacts with a studio that just finished doing a couple of major projects that are in the Spokane area, that they're getting notoriety for the I don't know what it is, cinematography or something. It's like one of those Oscar trailed types of movies, but that was the studio they shot a lot of that stuff in. He may get a chance to do some work there. Like just left, right, and center. It's like micro opportunity after micro opportunity is popping up where it's like, this is actually pretty achievable. Like you can, you know, if you're
That's
able
fantastic.
to refine this particular thing, find a location that you can shoot all the external stills and wides. Damn near the whole movie takes place indoors in the same spot. You could do all that work in the studio in Spokane. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. Yeah.
this is insane. Like, so as long as you don't need like a reckless amount of different lenses and dolly shots and, you know, a bunch of rigging gear that you couldn't just go rent, that, you know, because
Now
even rentals are expensive, you could do this thing.
Now, this new script, the way that you're describing it, could it also be adapted into like a stage play due to sets?
This one definitely could. The story is not very straightforward, but makes a ton of sense. Like you're committed to the characters or what's driving the scenes.
Okay.
But then the story like has some pretty major twists that are like, like things you could see the whole time, but just couldn't put it together. And it's really well done. But I think this script is, I want to say it's 90 pages or so. So plus minus reworks, you're looking at a 90-minute movie. So it's
Right.
pretty achievable. But I wanted to shout him out. I just want to say I'm a big fan of you. I think you're doing really killer stuff. Stick with it, man. Like, you know, I know he frequents this pod and stuff. So just wanted to shout him out. I think it's nice to give a little recognition from time to time. Like I thought the script that you and
Absolutely.
I went through, like that was
review was incredible.
Yeah, and that was like revision 4. It wasn't like revision 32. So
Right.
like it was pretty that
was
sharp
a
when
watchable movie.
Yeah.
I could see it in my head. Like the dialogue was on point, but I could see it frame by frame.
Yeah. And this is no different.
I'm a visual guy. I can take those things and actually kind of stitch them together in my brain to be able to kind of see how it would play out. And from my visualization of it, not only was it a watchable film, it was a really fun, good film that I would watch on repeat. It definitely had like a cult classic feel to it. And that's just the first script that I've read. Now, Dan, I apologize to you. I'm looking into the camera. I apologize to you, Dan, that I have not yet gotten to the second one. Angel did send it to me. I have yet to read it. I will read it. I promise. But this is the third script, right? That
this is
over.
This is the fourth one I've read.
Fourth one.
This is the fourth one I've read.
Behind.
Yeah. Which one did I send you? Was it the Dames? I don't remember. I think I sent you the Dames. So this is probably the third one I've read.
I don't know what the title. I can't remember what the title
this
was.
Is the fourth, it's like the fourth concept I've really poured over with him on the phone, but it's, I believe, the third script I've read.
I'm afraid to say details, but it was the one about the kind of comedy horror one.
That one we reviewed with Namtar and friends.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was the first one.
Okay.
So yeah, fourth concept and third script, I think, the one, but he sent it over last night, and I texted him at like, I don't know, I got a pretty early start to the day. I was up around 5:30 and I was coffeeed up, showered, and ready to rock by like 6:15. So I was going through all my emails and stuff on a personal level before jumping into the work thing, and I couldn't put it down. So I sent him a text, I don't know, 9:30 or 10 or something. And he's like, "Oh, you read it already?" I was like, "I couldn't put it down." Like, I mean, it was insane. Plus, it's pretty easy read when you're interested in the subject matter, which related to me a little bit more on this one than the last one. But the characters are solid. Everything's super good. So, yeah. But just huge kudos. Like, keep it up, dude. You know, I know there's a lot of things. I think we're our own worst critic at stuff, especially things we're good at. Like, oh, I might have a talent for this because I've been recognized for it a bunch of times, but I don't believe that. I don't believe in it. You know what I mean? And
Right.
you can often deny yourself back into oblivion doing that stuff, and so just it's good to get some recognition once in a while. He's really putting out good content, and I'm excited to see where it goes. So, huge shout
He's
out.
He's always been not only, like you mentioned before, has an incredibly sharp wit, but has been incredibly creative. But between him and I, he's probably my favorite Calrissian, and he'll understand what I mean by that. So,
yeah.
But yeah, so
some rivalries will never die.
But yeah, I love that man, and I believe in him too. I believe that he of anybody in this space that has the capability and the skill sets and the overall just talent to be able to do something in this regard, Dan would be the one.
Yeah.
And I could not encourage him more if I tried. Like, please keep doing it. One of these days, these things are going to get picked up, and then we're going to be like, don't forget us.
Yeah.
When you're walking the red carpets.
That's what I remind him. I'm like, don't get too big for your britches out there when you're commanding Hollywood, films one day.
Yeah.
So you had a really interesting topic. You wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on in Iran. I have some thoughts toward mankind on what's happening in Iran, but go ahead and get us going. What's going on?
Yeah, mine was a little dovetailed. I mean, I've been keeping an eye on, outside of what's been going on in Venezuela, but the ripple effects because of Venezuela that's been happening in Iran, and how the media just plain and simply is kind of trying to ignore it. But there is a massive revolution going on for the first time since 1979 in Iran. And millions of people are taken to the streets. The Ayatollahs and the Muslim regime that has taken over their democracy that it did in 1979, because a lot of people don't realize that prior to 1979, it was a pretty westernized area, and that it was far more kind of Persian than it was kind of Arab, and it was also far more open to Christianity than it ever had been in history. And it had been, and it was, if you look at it, just Google Iran pre-1979, there's pictures of like people, it looks like a modern city within the United States during that time frame. And then the Ayatollah, they voted and allowed the Ayatollahs to come in and kind of take over, and there was a big revolution, and it wasn't good, and it has been a downhill trajectory ever since. And then they became the hub of terrorist funding for the next 40 years, and they have caused a lot of problems by funding Hezbollah and funding Boca Raton and funding all of these terrorist organizations and ISIS and all of these other organizations. Of course, groups of people try to blame it on other places, like we talked about last week. But as of right now, there are millions of people in the streets of Iran right now who got inspired from Venezuela and said, we want this now. They're flying American flags. They're putting up Trump signs all over down in the cities in Iran. And it's insane what's happening and not being reported. But this is happening on such a grand scale that the Ayatollahs have actually been trying to contact the Trump administration to say, can we make a deal? Please don't come. Like, they're running them out of the country. The actual Ayatollah Khomeini has actually been run out of the country. He's actually going to be going to France, I believe, where he actually was the last time. And it's just insane. This is history being made.
The videos are outrageous. Yeah. It's quite something to see. Like,
but the people are fighting it back. Go ahead.
I was going to say, we saw similar people taken to the streets in London recently, and it was wildly underreported, where they're like, yeah, several hundred gathered, and you're looking at like massive citywide streets are packed shoulder to shoulder all the way down thoroughfares. I'm like, that's thousands and thousands of people. But yeah, it is incredible to see just the snippets that are making their way out of Iran into the internet that I've been able to witness. And I think it's pretty incredible, because it is, you're right. Like, that is kind of history unfolding in real time.
And it's not just, I mean, there's obviously biblical implications here that I won't go too deep into, but just on the global scale of what this means, because they are a major fixture with what is going on with BRICS. They are a major fixture of what is going on with the connection to South America and through to China and Russia. This kind of really pushes back a lot of the plans of kind of a globalist government. There's a lot of things that this hinges on this, not just for the Middle East, but on a global scale. Iran is kind of a pivotal moment. And, but besides all that, really what I wanted to kind of focus on is the people, and the fact that being a Christian in Iran was very dangerous. It was allowed, but under very, very, very strict regiments. And you couldn't have more than a certain amount of churches. Like, you know, Tucker's been lying about what has been going on in Iran for a while. Like, they're allowed to be there, but they're not really. And so, but what this is showing is the pushback against the Islamic Brotherhood that has been in control of Iran for a long time and has put them under such a repression that it's become a third world country, and that they have had enough, to the point where there's millions of people in the streets where they want Western freedom, and they want the freedom to be able to practice whatever religion they feel like, which a lot of them, that is Christianity. And so, and it is reflected around the rest of the world too, because what's going on in Iran, you know, you also have to look at what's going on in Somalia, and what's going on in Mogadishu, and what's going on in all these other places, right? So now what we are looking at is how it ties in to like what's going on in the United States. And when you look around and you look at areas like Michigan, Dearborn, and you look at Minnesota, what's going on in Minnesota these days, what you're looking at in New York, what you're looking at they started trying to do in Texas, and all of these different areas where there's been a giant influx of kind of this Islamic regime that has taken over vast areas within the United States, and then they start popping up mosques. And, you know, we, as a country that has been open to, you know, having the idea of freedom of religion, we're kind of hesitant to do anything that would be like, except for you. So we've mistakenly allowed them to take a foothold here, even though that they are in massive the contradictory nature of their theocratic belief system is in such opposition to the United States in general that they don't even follow the same legal structure. And in fact, they think that any other legal structure besides what falls under the legal structure of Islam is a false legal structure and should be either ignored, even in the country of its origin, should still be ignored. Which is why you've got whole areas of England that are sectioned off, that are under Sharia law, because their legal structure, they ignore the English and UK English or legal structure, and they focus entirely on their own Sharia law, which is in heavy contradiction to our legal structure, especially in the United States. And so now you've got a situation where they're setting up these courts all over Minnesota and Michigan, and I'm sure they're already in New York. They were trying it in Texas and a couple of other places. And that can't be allowed to happen. We cannot have a legal structure that is in contradiction with our state and federal legal courts here. Mm-hmm. You cannot stone a girl to death because she doesn't want to marry the guy that you put her with. Like, right. I understand arranged marriages, but you don't get to murder people for it. Right. You don't get to behead people. You don't get to behead infidels. You don't get to do any of these things. You don't get to cut the genitalia off children. You don't get to do these things. This is not your land. Do that in your land if you so choose. But over here, we have a legal structure. You don't get to do that.
These are all things the radical left has tried to do legally in America too, by the way, but go on.
Absolutely, which is why you see the red-green action there.
You know, I was giving this some thought. I don't want to take advantage of any taxpayer dollars, so I don't want any federal subsidies for this, but I do strongly want to open a nonprofit and maybe get some of that funding from Soros and some of the other folks that pay people to go protest. And my thought is, what I'll do is I'll show up to all these protests and I'll have like a trade-in booth. You remember Trade a Game, where you could exchange a video game with usually some compensation, get another game back? Very simple premise. Like, you can trade in all of your Palestine flags for a new Venezuela flag or a new Iran flag. And you can just go right out. You can march in, you can trade it out. I'll pick up a couple bucks. You can march right out and keep protesting. And I think it's going to be worth millions of dollars. I think I'm going to make it really big at this. And then I'm just going to follow the themes and treads. Like, because Cuba's reacting not great to what's going on in Venezuela either. They're like, hey, yeah, maybe we should don't do that to us, please. Because that would suck a lot. Because we like to distribute a ton of drugs. In fact, we monopolize certain types of drugs. But it won't be long if, people start marching through the jungle that way, that Cuba's going to be, save Cuba. And I'm going to have to stock up on Cuba flags too. So Paul's in chat. He says, yes, flag exchange RS. I think I'm going to do it. I don't see why I couldn't get some of that private protest money and help them out.
Might as well. Yeah. Profiteering at its best, man. You buy up, like what they do is, any other profiteering type of situation, you invest in both sides and you profit off of both of them.
Exactly.
Right? So, but you make the propaganda for the side that you're even not supporting, just so you're making money off of them too. It's perfect. It's genius.
I'm a thinker. What can I say? No, what I really wanted to interject with, to be honest, because I do think that's funny and I kind of want to see if I can get away with it now that I'm talking about it. But like a lot of the divisions around how this stuff specifically is getting reported, particularly the Iran stuff right now, it's not widely reported how many people were like weeping and celebrating Maduro's detainment, right?
Right.
Everyone wants to focus on the, oh my God, you've extended the U.S. border 2,500 miles south by doing this, and how dare we invade and blah, blah, blah. It's like there's a hell of a lot more going on here, but I am genuinely curious, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, we'll start with America, how close human beings are in our desires to one another without the political divide. I think I could sit across somebody that would argue my political beliefs with me, and outside of a context of political argument, we would both want to go to the grocery store and have the same options and opportunities at the same dollar value. I think we would want a safe park to play in with the kids if necessary, like if you have children and shit. I don't think we're that far departed on day-to-day lifestyle agreement in Western philosophy, societal confines. I really don't.
Right.
It's like, but all I see, and it's this power hype train of deep divisions from you had the right radicalizing the left and the left radicalizing the right. We take the most extreme knuckleheaded examples of the other side, and then that paints a picture, especially in the algorithms, of if radical whack job says this, all of you that have conservative values are packaged in with this person, or all of you with you. I wonder, like, we've talked for years about the death of the moderate, right? More or less. It's like moderate doesn't exist. And I have found myself leaning from a place of moderate conservative to being a conservative over the last few years, just with stuff that I've seen myself. But I wonder how deep the divisions are, or how much we're buying into this media narrative. Like, you know, we bring up Iran. I guarantee you I'm going to have somebody tomorrow be like, hey, I listened to the pod. I didn't even know Iran was even protesting their own leaders. We didn't even know the Ayatollah. Like, I shit you not, this will happen sometime this week. And it just concerns me. Like, are we really that far off as human beings or not? You know, because you go to some areas, Seattle's one of them, where it's like, it's obvious radicalization everywhere you go, like to an irrational degree. Like, tax me harder, daddy. If that could be on a t-shirt, they'd all be wearing it. You know what I mean? But I just really wonder, I'm like, are we closer than I thought we were? Like, toward just being average humans, and we're letting the craziness of the media over or under reporting just drive this, I don't know, spirit among us that just makes us incensed at the fact that the other side is all one thing or not. Because the Sharia law thing, obvious bad, and we have laws against letting that type of stuff take root, and it started to, and we could posit that there was an enabling force with the governmental body for the last 12 or so years that allowed for such things to happen, and we could call to point areas we could probably prove that out. But besides the Sharia part, which I am firmly in your lane with, like, do people know? I mean, do we all feel the same? This is good. This is a net positive that these people are rising up a little bit and saying no more. You know, like the hub of worldwide terrorism is principally funded by Iran and friends in that area of the world. You know, we broke a promise when we pulled out of Afghanistan to the United Nations and everyone else in the world, when we said we would never let that area become a hub for terrorism ever again. And we just walked.
That's correct.
Like, so yeah, I think if people stop and look at these and come up with their own idea of, is this the right thing to do or not, you'd find way less opposition among one another if you sat down and talked about it. That's why I love the show. Like, yeah. But it occurred to me, like, are we closer to like-minded, directionally accurate stuff than I thought we were? Maybe I was the one getting quietly polarized as well. I don't know.
It's hard to say, due to the fact that, you know, it's all fairly subjective in where you are regionally, where you are online, where you are, you know, there's so many different factors that could contribute to what we would put into the countenance of extremism and how many of the population is on either end of that, right? So, you know, I see it in my day to day. I know that there are people who have such, you know, if we saw each other in the grocery store by, you know, the French fries, you know, we're the same people. But what I don't know about that person is that they support all of the things that I don't fundamentally. Right. You know, whether it be domestically, like taxes or abortion or any of the kind of more domestic concepts, or even on a larger scale where, you know, they think that Palestine existed in any capacity and that it has the right to wipe Israel off the map, and Israel's been the scourge of the planet since its inception, or that Venezuela, you know, we have no business being there. You know, like, whatever the case may be, we're vastly different. Do I think that there's a conversation to be had because of an information bias that could be bridged? Probably, but I think that we have been conditioned to our lives you and I were just talking earlier that we don't have a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
And so we end up doing the math in our heads and going, do I have enough time to present the facts that will be rebutted, and then I have to rebut, and then back and forth, and do the tennis match of ideas? Do I have the time for the tennis match? Or am I just going to dismiss this person as a radical and move on with my life and go, they're nuts over there? And I don't know if I fall into, I would say I probably fall into that category where I just kind of now have gotten to the point where I'm so tired of what the media has been shoving down two different narratives down different groups' throats, that finding the truth, especially in the age of AI and other things, has become so difficult that I just don't have the bandwidth to.
It's not possible. And I'll give you a shining example to rebut what I just said. Have you ever pulled up Google Maps on your phone and typed in Palestine?
I have not.
I'm going to show you what it says. It drives you directly to the West Bank, and it says Palestine, officially the state of Palestine, is a country in West Asia. It encompasses the Israeli occupied West Bank, and then goes on and says comments are turned off. That's where it is.
You can
see Bethlehem in there.
Factually untrue.
100%. And that's why we'll never see eye to eye.
Right. Because we're holding up two different phones at each other going, my phone says this. Well, my phone says the exact opposite. So what I do know is that I think that we are, we're at a boiling point, and we have been for a while. It's a slow boil, but I think that we are at a point, especially with the last couple of moves with Venezuela and with Iran, where it's going to start shifting the lines again. We had that 2020 kind of shift where people kind of shuffled around and kind of settled into different pockets, but it became more factioned. There was more factions. There wasn't just I'm on this side, you're on this side, and we can shake hands and talk about it in the middle. There's so many different, like, Chinese checkers factions now. It's not just that. I think we're about to do that again, and I think that it is going to even do even more, and we're about to go into another cycle of kind of division. And it's going to be a little weird. It's going to create weird bedfellows. It's going to kind of shift the board, and everything's going to kind of turn sideways. And then all of a sudden, you're going to be standing next to somebody that you disagreed with this other thing 10 months ago. It's going to be very weird coming up, and it's due to what's going on in Iran and in maybe Cuba, maybe Greenland coming up. We don't know, and things are going to get a little weird. I
want you to talk a little bit about the thing that wife is going to do too before we move off this, by the way, because I think
absolutely
the legislation part of this is pretty critical stateside.
It is. One of the things that I think is going to become a weirdly key component to the Venezuela thing. I found out that do you know the comedian Tom Segura?
Yes, I don't care for Tom Segura.
Okay, so Tom Segura and his wife Christina they're in a weird middle ground spot of, like, politics where they are kind of lefty but didn't really kind of subscribe to it, but a lot of their friends are on the right side of things, so they're kind of in this weird spot. Christina actually was just on the Trigonometry podcast talking about how she messed up her life with feminism, and that she was going, like, searching for all the wrong things and focusing on all the wrong things, and how she finds more value in being a mother and being a wife and being kind of traditional in the kind of traditional concepts, which was surprising to everybody, and she was very sincere about it, and it was very weird. However, Tom, he is half Venezuelan. I I think his mom is from Venezuela. They happen to be down there for New Year's. They're stuck down there. So they can't get airspace open enough for them to get home, and they're posting videos saying we're fine, everything's great. Like they're not in any trouble. Obviously, they're celebrities, but everything's going swimmingly for them. They just can't get home right now.
Yeah,
they're going to be in a weird position. I guarantee you that they're on phone calls constantly right now with their agents and with other power players within Hollywood that they kind of answer to, going, "You're not going to be able to say anything when you come back," because they are eyewitnesses to the people in Venezuela in the streets cheering that Maduro got taken down. Now they're going to have to come back and get on their podcast and either be really quiet about it and not say anything, or they're going to shift that needle. They're going to move the needle in another direction.
Depends on who's sponsoring their podcast, huh?
Right, exactly. So I'm very curious because they're not going to not be able to tell the truth about it. If they lie about it and get caught, then it's going to be the end of their careers. Mm-hmm. But if they tell the truth about it and say this is what we saw while we were there, because they have one of the biggest podcasts in the world, and so they're going to lose people, but they may gain some others. Like, it's going to be a really weird thing, but they may be the ones that kind of put it more like, how we're talking about how you're going to get people who don't even know what's going on in Iran hitting you up, right? This is the type of touchstone, the type of people who bring it to the regular culture and actually show them what's actually going on in Venezuela, rather than people going, "What are you talking about? I never heard about the millions of people in the streets cheering about this. We thought Venezuela was just invaded by the United States and it's a horrible thing."
I hope they don't bury it. That's my hope, because we have a certain reach with this show. It's not even in the same universe as Tom Segura and Christine. I can't remember what last name she goes by. But yeah, I mean, I hope they don't bury it,
Yeah. It would be vastly important that they actually make this a message for their audience and have it spread. Maybe go Nick Shirley viral. Don't let Nick Shirley outshine you, Tom Segura. So, but yeah, let's talk about the Idaho portion of this. Yeah. So, my wife is actually heading down.
My
wife is headed down to Boise tomorrow, early in the morning, with our friend Stephanie, who's been on the show, Stephanie Fetzer.
Friend of the program.
Yeah. So the two of them are heading down early in the morning down to Boise. The legislation session just started yesterday. And so, now I'll probably lose my wife for the next 3 months because she'll be buried in listening to it every day and reporting on it. I kind of made peace with that 3 or 4 years ago. But they're going down there and they're working with a couple of senators, specifically Ben Taves, who's also been on the show.
Friend of the program.
And a couple of other legislators, Jordan Redmond, and a couple of other people who are going to be working on some bills and legislation to ban Sharia law in the state of Idaho, to make sure that the only law that is congruent with the people here within the state of Idaho is Idaho state law or the Constitution of the United States. Those, as long as none of those are in conflict with each other, that is our law, and that no other law can supersede it or can do anything to get around it. And so it really ties the hands of Sharia law. In fact, it's going to outright ban it and say you cannot practice Sharia law within the state of Idaho. Now, to help with them on that, they are meeting up with a gentleman that I've met, I think, twice now when he's come to the church and spoken. He speaks at our church every once in a while, but he's a nationally known figure. His name's Shahram Hadian. He's a pastor, and he's the founder of Truth and Love Ministry. and is a sought-after speaker who travels around North America addressing critical issues facing us as believers and Americans. A Christian pastor and former Muslim, Shahram was born in Iran, came to America to escape an oppressive Islamic regime, and has a powerful conversion to Christianity in 1999. Shahram's unique background includes experience as a pastor, police officer, teacher, coach, and servant leader in his community, and he was a candidate for governor in Washington State in 2012. But Shahram's a great dude. He's got like 8 kids, but he's an incredible speaker, but he understands the conflicts in the Middle East better than most because he's from there. He gets all the players, he gets what's going on. He also understands the faith of Islam better than most. And so he can apply it on a social political level, but also on a biblical level. And so he's going down there to help with this legislation. Now, we are not unique. Oftentimes when I bring up stuff that we're doing, we're kind of first to the punch on a lot of the things that we do here in Idaho.
Yeah.
But in this particular case, we're not the first to the punch here. It has been, my wife made a graphic they put together a bunch of packets to kind of pitch this to the legislative body down there. And it probably has a good chance of working out because of the fact that before we even introduce it, Montana, Arizona, South Dakota, Kansas, Texas, Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Indiana, and North and South Carolina have all introduced legislation to ban Sharia law within their state borders. So this is something that is called preemptive legislation. So we don't get situations like what's going on in Minnesota right now, in Dearborn, Michigan. And so this is something that we don't see what's been happening all over Europe, in Paris and London and all over Greece and all over Germany, that we don't have areas like in Sweden where you can't go to because there's rape gangs all over the place. You know, you can't go to these places because Sharia law is law. And if you do not, if you're not a Muslim walking through their neighborhoods, you're subject to beatings, killings, whatever, because it falls under their law. We will not allow that to happen here.
For those that are maybe not hep to Sharia law, can I give you the Google/AI interpretation of some issues that Sharia law may present?
Absolutely.
This is super funny to read. Here are, according to Google, some key areas of concern and criticism of Sharia law. Women's rights is the first bullet point. Traditional interpretations of Sharia are often criticized for contributing to gender inequality in some countries. This can include rules on dress code, e.g. mandatory veils, male guardianship systems requiring male permission for travel, marriage, or divorce, unequal inheritance rights, and barriers to education and employment opportunities. Pretty diplomatic way of putting that one. LGBTQ rights is the next bullet point. Homosexuality is considered a sin in all major schools of Islamic thoughts, and in many Muslim-majority countries, same-sex behavior is criminalized and in some cases punishable by death. Religious tolerance and like freedom of speech, like it literally
pause you real quick. In Christianity, homosexuality is also a sin,
right?
And we do not condone it, but we do not kill them. that's
it's not a capital offense. Yeah,
right. So
it goes on: religious tolerance, freedom of speech, corporal and capital punishment, evidentiary standards, and these are international law acceptable human rights standards, not just the ones here in America. Diversity of interpretation and application is not allowed. Parallel legal systems are not allowed. Stagnation of jurisprudence. Some scholars argue that Islamic jurisprudence has stagnated for centuries, failing to adapt to modern challenges and the values of enlightenment. We're going back centuries of thought, by the way, now, leading to an application that is incompatible with the contemporary world. Like these are the most bureaucratic AI ways of describing how horrific
this is
life
the gloves
is.
On writing of how this is. Yeah,
I would say if you're not familiar with it, look into some real world examples of Sharia law conflicting with Western ideology. Just
you can watch
huge
cop videos in the United States of people trying to apply it to their daughters and trying to murder them in the streets because she's running away from a suitor that's 40 years her elder, you know, that they're marrying her off to. This is not acceptable. It's not acceptable in the Western society, but specifically the United States of America. And
what's really weird is the varying ways in which these laws are implemented depending on who the practitioner is.
Correct.
But they're wildly aligned on what's not allowed.
Well, because there's a high concentration, and this is not even debatable, let alone controversial to say, but in Middle Eastern countries, specifically under Muslim regimes or Islamic regimes, it is allowable for grown men to have
young male concubines.
Relations.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But that doesn't fall under the homosexuality clause because it's a different thing to them.
Right.
So these are things that when you're talking about like the stipulations that apply to certain things and not others, none of it applies to Western law.
You can hear firsthand accounts of people experiencing that were like boots on the ground in Afghanistan and stuff early on in the GWAT.
Oh, yeah.
Watch a few interviews with Sean Ryan, you know, where he interviews the military guys there, and it's shocking the stuff that they saw. And in fact, I was listening to one, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, and forgive me, I don't remember the guest, but he was like, put simply, it was like visiting a country that was governed by 14th or 15th century thought.
Yeah.
It was absurd that this existed in the modern world. Absurd.
Yeah.
Like it's unfathomable. There's a level of disgust, but the fabric of who you are as a human growing up in a certain culture it's unbelievable that this exists. Like
it's medieval savagery, and that is not just saying that to be
right. Yeah,
shock value grotesque.
Right, and we're not trying to like pull one over on anybody. You can look these things up.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So what they are doing is they're going down with a bunch of stuff that they've put together to go with Shahram and with Senator Taves, but they are also bringing a stack of nearly 400 letters by real residents in northern Idaho in opposition to Sharia law wants it to be banned, but they collected over the course of the last month nearly 400 handwritten letters that they're bringing with them to say, look, we can keep going with this, but here's 400 to start off with. Like, this is a good sample of what the general population of this state is looking at. Do we need to get more, or can we get you guys on board? Right. Like, do we need to petition to have more people sign, or are you guys just going to do the right thing out of the gate, this legislative process? And so that's kind of where they're at.
Who's sponsoring the bill, though? Is Senator Taves sponsoring the bill?
Yeah, and I think a couple of others too that I'm not sure. She'll probably tell us in the comments, but she leaves tomorrow morning, like 4 a.m, because it's a 7-hour drive. They're going down there, spending probably 3 to 5 hours at the Capitol, and then driving home 7 hours. I'm trying to get them to stay down there because that's crazy, but they'll probably be home late tomorrow night. But it's that important that these two ladies are driving down there to make sure that this legislation gets pushed through this session. And so, but it's admirable, and I can't see it not passing, but you never know. Hijinks tend to happen during the middle of the session. So
how long do you think it'll be before your wife gets a pilot's license and just goes, you know what? I'm just gonna zip down there and back. You know what I mean?
It would, it's not out of the realm of possibility.
Mm-hmm.
She grew up around planes on an airport in San Diego. Her grandfather and her father are both pilots. They owned planes. They owned hot air balloons. It's not out of the realm of possibility. However, I think money is what's stopping her from doing that.
There's that.
But then there has, we've toyed around with the idea, which I don't think will ever happen, of moving closer, but we just love North Idaho too much, and we don't want to be like, we love visiting Boise and we love being down there, but we don't want to live down there. So but it would just make things so much easier.
I would stay in the north as well. It's prettier, it's calmer, it's less I don't know, it's less Boise.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm with you.
But yeah, so, but yeah, she's looking forward to spending some time with Shahram, who's a brilliant man who can bring all the context to this situation, and then with the calm brilliance and resolve of Senator Taves, the man is a master of reaching across the aisle. I've never seen anything like it in political history. The things that he got done in the last two legislative cycles that he was told he wouldn't be able to do because of the people on the other side and how they're unreachable. Well, he goes, well, let me try. And he'd go over there and he'd just pray with those people. And then he'd pray with them and talk and go out to lunch with them. And before he knew it, they're signing on to bills no one thought would be possible.
Yeah.
He has a gift, and it's a God-given gift. He needs to be in our Senate for as long as we can have him. I would not be opposed to a governor run from him at some point in time. I think that he has a diplomacy that is unmeasured in what I have seen in local and even, on a federal level politics. So between him, the knowledge base, and heart of Shahram Hadian, and then the just pure tenacity of my wife and and our friend,
my wife.
My wife. The tenacity of those two is of Stephanie and Aaron is pretty incredible.
Well, and if she's up for it next week, depending on how it lands, bring her on the show and have her give us a few words on update on how it went, what happened. Like I would be tickled to hear a follow up on that would be great. I'm with you. They probably should crash out somewhere, get a few hours of sleep before heading back up the road. But if she does do a quick trip for a 14-hour drive plus work, maybe wait till next week during the pod. But yeah, I'd love to hear how it's going. Yeah. So
we'll get her on. Wait, what is next? It might be. We'll look into it, but she may have a meeting to be at while we're here doing this. Yeah. But we'll get her on.
I know everything's pushed because next week's MLK Day for a lot of my schedule, Monday. So Tuesday might be busier than I thought. But if she's up for it,
okay, yeah. So, all right. Well, that is that. We very happy to see that going through, and hopefully we will get some results, and we'll hear from Aaron later on.
All right. Is it time to crunch down your tinfoil hats for Conspiracy Corner?
I think it is.
All right.
It is Conspiracy Corner time.
Bam. It's happening.
So.
Oh, damn it. My C flew off. Wear it that way so it says conspiracy.
All right. So this week was inspired by last night's game because I've been looking for, I started building lists to kind of pull from, and but last night you inspired me by one of the things that was going on in the game, and I won't get into that, but it inspired me to kind of explore this idea that I heard about, but hadn't put much. I thought, oh, that'd be kind of cool if that was true, but I didn't think about it again. But it's actually a longer. It has had longer legs than I realized. It's been around for a little while, and it's more fleshed out than I had realized. And obviously, there's the naysayers and the debunkers, and there's both sides to this. But I'm talking about the theory that the Apostle John, from
the Bible,
who wrote Revelation and John the Apostle, that he may currently still be alive and walking the earth to this day.
Sure.
To this day. Yes. So obviously on its face, it sounds crazy, but the theory of John the Apostle's survival is that St. John the Beloved, who is one of Jesus's 12 disciples. Now, after Jesus ascended, they were sent out to start churches and to, spend the time spreading the good news and the gospel. He actually was supposedly the only one that did not die a martyr's death. Not that they didn't try, but out of the 12 disciples, and this isn't all completely confirmed. There are some speculation as to, like Andrew and a couple of other, but there's some confirmation, but not 3 points of confirmation like you need for a true confirmation. But like Peter, they know how he died. They know how most of them died. The only one that did not die was John, and he was in Ephesus, and when he was in Ephesus, the Emperor Domitian jailed him for preaching the gospel and put him in prison, and then they went to do what they do, and they put him in the middle of a Colosseum. And they put him in boiling oil. They dipped him down in front of a crowd of screaming people. But while he was being dipped into oil, he just kept preaching. He didn't stop. And then they pulled him out, and he was completely unharmed. Freaked him out. They put him back in prison. And then we're like, this guy, but apparently a ton of people converted to Christianity because of that incident. And so
that would be a pretty big inciting sign to rethink your narrative on Christianity. Yeah.
Correct. And so apparently there was another attempt on his life with poison that didn't work. And they finally gave up, and they're like, this dude's like bananas. We don't want to have anything to do with him. So they decided to exile him to the island of Patmos. He was an old man. They exiled him to the island of Patmos and to the mines there, where he then eventually wrote the book of Revelation. So he had a dream, a vision that was given to him, and then he wrote that book. So and there's a lot of speculation that he was freed, but nothing that confirms it, and that he ended up dying in Turkey of old age, but nobody can confirm that. That's just kind of like speculation and rumor. There is some evidence to suggest that God even told Peter, or Jesus even told Peter that that this guy is not going to die until I come back. Like he will stay on the earth until I come back. And
that's
now there's a couple
break.
of verses. Right. Well, there's a couple of verses where, he was going over like John 21:21, and they're at the beach. It's John 21:21 through 23. And he says, Peter seen Peter, seeing him, said to Jesus, "But Lord, what about this man?" Because he had just told Peter that, you know, that he was going to die at some point, right? And then he goes, "Well, what about this man?" And Jesus said to him, "If I will that he remain till I come, what is that to you? You follow me." And the overarching kind of concept is that he was basically like saying, mind your business.
Right.
Like, what is it like if I decide to make this guy walk the earth forever, what is it to you?
So then
your business.
The conspiracy is that the decision was made that he just stick around.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that there was more to it, that he was actually saying, what if I make sure that this guy doesn't go around, but that's still none of your business. Like, he's going to stay on the earth until I come back. And that, and then he goes, then this saying went out among the brethren that the disciple would not die. Yet Jesus did not say to him that he would not die, but if I will that he remain till I come, what is that to you?
Right.
So basically he's saying, like, I didn't say he wasn't going to die, but I said I could make him stay here if I wanted to, but why do you care? It has nothing to do with you. So that being tied into the concept of Luke 9:27. So he said, but I tell you truly, there are some standing here, and he's talking to them. He's at the last supper, and they're all talking together. And he was talking about taking up the cross and following him.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, but I tell you truly, there are some standing here who shall not taste death till they see the kingdom of God. So saying and referring to John, saying that he's not going to see death until he sees the kingdom of God, which means that God will take him up. Mm-hmm. And so this all kind of correlates with the witnesses at the end times. There's supposed to be 2 witnesses during the end times in Jerusalem. One of them is very specifically Elijah. They say that Elijah is going to be one of the witnesses that God brings back and puts on earth as the 2 witnesses. The other one is not specified. He says you'll know him when you see him. And so that being said, that is in Malachi. So Malachi 4:5 says, behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord, and he will return. But it goes on to say that, like, no one, like, you won't know who the other guy is, will tell you, right? Mm-hmm. Or you'll find out later. Which then ties into John writing in Revelation. Mm-hmm. And Revelation 10:11, where he says, 11. Okay, the 2 witnesses. Then I was given a reed like a measuring rod, and the angel stood saying, rise and measure the temple of God, the altar. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. I'm wrong. Here it is. And he said to me, you must prophesy again about many peoples, nations, tongues, and kings. And he's saying that in reference to, like, you're going to have to do this again at the end times. Mm-hmm. So if you read it in context, when John eats the little book, and then it goes into the 2 witnesses in chapter 11. So chapter 11 is all about the 2 witnesses, which is in reference to him saying, you're going to have to go prophesy again. Right. So he's making a reference to himself, which John is known through his other writings to actually write in the 3rd person. They actually asked John the Baptist when he was, which is a different John, it's Jesus's cousin, John the Baptist. They actually asked John if he was the one that they were talking about in Malachi. And he said, nope, not me, different John. And so they are understanding that it was coming soon, applied it to John the Baptist, but there is speculation that God because he called him John the Beloved,
Mm-hmm.
that he loved John more than any others, and that he was going to use him for future things, and that he kind of hinted throughout the scriptures that he's kind of going to keep him around because he needs him to be the witness that everybody would recognize in the end times. So there's some speculation that God kind of blessed him with or not blessed him, but kind of maybe cursed him in a weird way too, with eternal life until he came back, and he would never see death. He would never taste death, and he would be taken up like Elijah and not actually see death, but stick around until Jesus' second coming. So there's a lot of people who are kind of on this train that think that maybe that might be true. There's a lot of people on the other side that actually say, absolutely not. That's not what they were saying, and then you start tying in other factors. I tried to go down the Count of Saint Germain connection to see maybe if they were one and the same person. There's no way. And the Count of Saint Germain was kind of debunked pretty easily. Actually, what's his name who does the Y files?
Yeah,
he actually did a 2-part series on it that was pretty good, and he pretty much debunked it pretty quickly. Besides, even if it was said in a biblical fashion, he never claimed to be John, but he claimed to be Cartophilus, which was known as the Wandering Jew, who was there when Jesus was carrying his cross, and like kind of scolded Jesus during that time frame. And Jesus actually in the Bible looks at him and says, you'll be cursed to walk the earth forever, and kind of gave him a curse of immortality, which has tied into not only the Count of Saint Germain, going all the way into like the 50s and 60s in the United States. Apparently, Saint Germain was at the signing of the Declaration of Independence and gave a rousing. There's all these legends around it, but all the way to Mount Shasta in the 50s and 60s, where they have a religion to this day that still worships Saint Germain on Mount Shasta in California. But that he was actually this Cartophilus guy, but he kind of debunks all of it. He goes through and kind of knocks down all of the legend and does it in a very fun way, but none of it tied itself to John the Apostle. So, but I just found it really fascinating. I thought it would be hilarious to kind of dive down.
Like what?
Yeah.
What would John be doing for all these years? He'd have to pick up and move a bunch. Like, there's got to be notice I never age. Time to.
And we play a game called Vampires, so we're always in this mindset of like, how do you kind of wander through a life of eons and not get noticed, right? And so it would have to be, I mean, if God's going to spiritually keep you alive out of your mortal coil, he'll probably provide you with the ability to do that with a certain amount of indiscretion, a certain amount of being able to hide within it. Like, so I don't really know, but it's fascinating to think that maybe he's somebody that, is pulling the strings behind the scenes somewhere else on a like political global scale, or maybe he's just a guy living on a fishing dock in Greece somewhere that everyone just goes, oh, that guy, yeah, I remember, he's been around forever, and he just kind of keeps his low profile.
We have a quick entry from chat. There's no bill in the Idaho mix yet, but there should be something hopefully in the next week. That's from Aaron B.
Excellent.
So
perfect. Thank you, baby doll.
We can't wait to hear an update. As the more you know after tomorrow, please drive safe.
Yeah.
No, I think it's incredible. I want it so bad to be true somehow.
I do too. Just for, I love the Bible, and I love my faith, and I love the reality of Christ. Even within the supernatural tone of it, seems to still fit firmly within a theocratic or a theological box. I like sometimes when it plays outside of that box.
Yeah.
Just for my own, like,
Right.
I love the idea of, the Nephilim and the giants and all those things that kind of are not Salvific issues, but fun to play
Super
around with
fun what
in
ifs.
theory.
Yeah.
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 Do I think that this is in the realm of possibility of the idea of a creation-based theology where an omnipotent God that I believe in has the capability of doing something where he goes, I loved you. You've got my heart. You understand my message better than most. I mean, we all quote John 3:16 because it was literally what the gospel was built into one sentence.
Right.
Like, he got it better than anybody else. For God so loved the world, he gave his one and only begotten son. That is John. So Christ through John, he understood Christ's heart. Who else would he have picked outside of Elijah, who was the greatest of all of the prophets in the Old Testament? Then he needs somebody from the New Testament who had the understanding in the heart of Jesus. And to be able to be that guy, it makes sense in the way that
Judas
the Bible
Iscariot lost
itself.
after a recount. So
he did. You're right.
Yep.
Yeah, it wasn't even close actually, but he actually loved Judas. That was the thing, is that he loved Judas a lot. So, but I want to believe it. I'm gonna keep this in the I believe it column. It's not a Salvific issue. It's not something that is going to be matter one way or the other for the salvation of other people, for myself. I think that it is well within the realm of God to be able to do. It makes sense contextually for Jesus to pick him and to actually do that. Do I think that there's enough evidence to prove it? No. Obviously, that seems to be the correlating running theme with a lot of biblical scripture is you get 2/3 of the evidence, but the other third requires faith, and that's the point. This falls right in line with that for me. It's got 2/3 the evidence, but the other third I'm willing to give some faith to. So I actually really like this idea, this conspiracy theory. I think that if John popped up in Israel with Elijah in the end days, it would make sense.
Yeah.
As the prophets, so as the witnesses.
Well, but excellent conspiracy corner. I am undecided. I'm leaning toward, I don't know if you love somebody that much, why you would put them through life eternal until the rapture. If he gets to see the kingdom of God in some other fashion, after Christ comes onto him in some other way that is unrecorded, would make more sense to me. But also with the prophecy around you'll bear witness to this kind of in the end, it doesn't scale with the Revelation text. And that's why I'm like, I can't quite be out on this. So I don't know. It's hard to rationalize.
He's, he was sent to the island of Patmos in 97 AD. So 33 AD is when Jesus died. So
do we know what that island is today? Sounds like a conspiracy corner field trip is in order.
Actually, it's still an island. You can still go there. Is
it still called Patmos?
Patmos, Patmos, I believe. It's off of Greece somewhere.
Okay,
I believe.
Yeah, Patmos Municipality, Greece.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it was a real island, and still is. That was, but yeah, that's where he was exiled. You can actually go see like where John was um, living while he was there. So
Wow.
yeah,
Dude, I was nearby there in 2018.
yeah, it's not too far off from just kind of like Mykonos and all those places, right?
Yeah, I was in Santorini for a little bit,
Yeah.
a little south of there.
So
Huh.
so yeah, so that was my conspiracy corner for the week. I really think that I like the idea of the Apostle John, and God could have. So he was an older man, but God could have given him a either a slumber that he slept through it all, or that he just gave him a peaceful existence of
Mhm.
learning, of like made sure that he was kind of surrounded in like not hardships, and it's possible, but
Dude, that would be wild.
yeah.
Falls asleep for
So,
several thousand years and wakes up to this. Oof.
yeah, yeah, that would
Yikes.
suck so bad.
Oh,
So
just to fill you in, Aaron B replied again, depending on what happens in the Coeur d'Alene City Council meeting on Tuesday, I should be able to come on. Awesome.
oh, cool, excellent.
Nice. All right. Conspiracy corner. I like it. That's a thought provoker. I'm going to be stewing on that for hours tonight after the show.
I want to know what the chat thinks. I want to know what the listeners think. Send us a message. Send us anything else, any other things that might be able to add to that. If you know of anything else that might be able to add to it, let me know.
This chat comes from John the Beloved that says, "Stop talking about this. Leave me alone." Oh, that's interesting. Very timely. Someone's gonna pop up with that screen name shortly. All right, hey, we'll do some clever edits. Okay, we got a dope for this week.
We do have a dope for this week.
I know this one, and it's fun.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, we've been going through every week now doing a segment called The Dope, which is short for dopamine. It's basically, and just, it's fun, it's good, it's dope, and it's kind of brain rot all at once. So basically, with all the heavy stuff that we talk about every week, I like to kind of give a little glimmer of stuff that kind of gives me a bit of a break during the day, of short videos.
Internet palate cleanser on the internet, if you will.
Right, absolutely. Mainly of wholesome stuff. Like, I like wholesome material. I like interesting things, but I also like creative people. And so I find like little pockets of this on the internet, and then it overtakes my algorithm, and I end up kind of going down little rabbit holes. One that has been kind of, I've been watching for a while now because I've just been so fascinated by these guys, their personalities. There's a channel that is on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. You can even find clips of it on Facebook, but mainly TikTok and Instagram, and then they've got a YouTube channel, and it's called Dead Greg's Recipes. Mm-hmm. And it is two Florida guys who are in... let's see. Dead Greg's Recipes is a TikTok and Instagram series hosted by David Zarco and Kevin Abonanato, in which the two cook the handwritten recipes of Abonanato's late Uncle Greg. Mm-hmm. Now, his Uncle Greg was, they describe him as estranged, like large, big, alcoholic, estranged uncle. And he didn't know him very well. He was kind of like, had vague memories of him, but he lived on a boat and like moved around all over the place, and he was kind of a wild man. But apparently Greg loved to cook, and he passed away, and like in 2020, I believe, and he had a bunch of recipes that he sectioned off into different types of like Cajun cooking and Asian and sauces and and new 2018 2019 and casseroles, and he had a bunch of different ones with tons and tons of them in it, and then he carried them all in a big Ziploc bag, all of them. And the Kevin ended up, as they call him, the roommate in this series that they started. Kevin acquired these after his uncle died. He was gifted his uncle's recipe bag. Yeah. And so he's not really that much of a cook, and neither is his roommate, David Zarko. But David Zarko thought it would be fun and kind of to honor him because he got some of his uncle's ashes. And they thought it would be fun to film cooking his uncle, like one by one, cooking his uncle's recipes. And so you get David Zarko at the front. He goes, this is Dead Greg's Recipes. I'm David Zarko. And he spins a wheel with all the different categories, and they pick off the wheel a category, and then they spend time hilariously cooking whatever weird recipe his uncle has, which never really fits the category. Like nothing in the Cajun book has ever been in the bag has ever been Cajun. And then he cooks it up. They film the whole process, and then they sit down together at a table, and he tells them what the name of the meal is, that his uncle named it on the top of the recipe, and then they eat it, they talk about it, and then they rate the recipe. Yeah. And they hold up little boards to see, surprise, who rated it. It is so wholesome and fun, and it's become such a thing because they'll even go into like the fact that the not only the recipe's wacky, his spelling is wacky. So they'll just say the words as he spelled it. And so, they're from Hollywood, they're Florida roommates, they've cooked up recipes with the wacky names like Big Irish Chili, salmon candy, and coleslaw salad in a Jello mold. Zarko and Abbandonato join to talk about the series of Uncle Greg, and they, Dead Greg's Recipes has gone on for like, I think 400 plus episodes, and they're still not done. They're running out of it. Now, two things have spawned from this. One, you can actually go to their website, which is deadgregs.com, and you can get all sorts of different types of merch, including David Zarko does this whole bizarre series of like paintings, like surrealism paintings, where the main character is an egg with pants and legs, and he does a whole series of these, and they're always in the background. But you can buy prints of the paintings, or like Dead Greg fanny pack or slides or t-shirts or aprons. But they have the cookbooks that you can actually download and print off and put them in bags for yourselves. And they've done it so that it's his cookbook, but also the revised, easy to read version. And only certain ones make it into the cookbook, but they're working on the second cookbook. Nice. You can download it. But it's also kind of ventured off into Dead Greg's Friends. Now, people who have watchers, viewers have actually gone into this and have actually said, well, my mom passed away and she had this great recipe. See if you can make it. So now they're taking on other people's dead relatives' recipes and trying to cook them and then rating them. And there's funny stories that come along with it. There's like, the writer will, the sender will write in a kind of an anecdote about the relative who passed away. Like, actually, she sucked. She was super mean. So rip it up. Who cares? Oh my God. Or, just stuff like that. So they have a great time, and that series is now called Dead Greg's Friends. Nice. And David Zarko is super charming. Like, he's just got a good, calm demeanor about him, but he's got a real dry wit and humor. And his roommate, they seem to get along really well. Kevin apparently has now moved out. He's no longer the roommate, but they still call him the roommate, and he comes over for the show. But they they've really had a good time with this series. You can feel it in the energy. There's other people involved in the production of it now, but they've had a really good time building up this kind of momentum and really honoring this guy that they didn't have to honor. Like, he was an estranged uncle, but it's turned into this thing where they've kind of given him a personality through the show, and it's really wholesome. It's really fun. It's these two guys who found something to do with a very bizarre heirloom this guy acquired, which was a bag full of paper recipes, and
the gift that keeps giving.
Written.
Yeah.
And so, I really love this channel. I highly recommend it. If you want to follow him, you can follow him on deadgregs.com or any of the social media sites. They put out videos all the time, and they're just really fun to watch. I highly recommend it. So if you want a little extra dope in your life, go to Dead Greg's Recipes and check it out.
I love it. Nice.
Have you? And you said you've seen?
I've seen several.
Some of those?
Yeah, I've seen several of those. And they are funny. I didn't know they were doing the whole and friends thing now, but that's the natural progression, considering that's a finite book of recipes. At some point, you got to figure out something. So that's pretty good, though. Nice.
Yeah, it was a great way to carry on, because you knew, even if he's got 600 recipes in that book, that's only 600 episodes. You can only go so far with it. But for them to, before they even reached the end of it, to kind of go, okay, this is where we're taking it from here, Dead Greg's Friends, where people can send them weird recipes from their kin or from friends or from the aunt that they hated or whatever, and send it in. And most of the time the recipes are actually pretty good. So they end up having a good time eating the food. But yeah, it's a fun, there's not a lot of gross out in it, so don't worry about that. But it is definitely a good time, and the humor in it is just the appropriate amount. So
I love it. Well, we've got 3 shows to review. We'll probably hammer through these. We have this week on our movie/show reviews. I rewatched, because I didn't get to see all of it the first time, The Martian. You kicked off season 3 of Primal, and we both have some things to say about Tron Ares. Where do you want to start?
Let's go for Martian. Go for The Martian. I want to hear your thoughts on The Martian.
I kind of just threw it on, and what I missed the first time I saw this was that it's a Ridley Scott film. I was like, oh, I didn't know that.
Correct.
And I was like, well, this is interesting, because normally when Ridley Scott does business in outer space, it's usually pretty graphic and intense, and the intensity was certainly there. But really, really good movie. Like, I'm not like the biggest Matt Damon defender. I think he does really good work in some films. Other films, I could be like, yeah, whatever. But
I'll take him or leave him. Yeah.
Short and long of it, if you're not familiar with the book, which I believe this was an adaptation of the book, there's a Mars mission, a manned Mars mission. Shit goes wrong. Everyone has to leave. They presume one of the astronauts, Mark Watney, is dead. He is not. He comes to the next day and then has to figure out how to survive on Mars for a very, very long time, while the people of Earth figure out he's alive and try to either send a rescue plan, or inevitably the crew he went with gets to learn about his survival and turn around, try and go get him. So the whole story is pretty intense, but it's done with such a wide comedic overtures and overtones that you kind of get to really relate to this character more so than just living through the intensity of the idea of being stranded on Mars. And I just thought they really made it watchable for that respect, but really kind of captured a very interesting idea of what life would be like on Mars alone. And I thought the acting was superb. The casting was cool. Kate Mara's in it, Sebastian Stan's in it, Jessica Chastain's in it. Like there's a bunch, Michael Pena's in it. There's like a ton of really big name actors, and it came out a while ago, but I just kind of didn't hit my radar as like, this is kind of a classic movie that's pretty easy to rewatch for me. And I loved it. Having actually sat down and watched the whole thing, we're going 8.5 megs on the toothy end for me, but I thought it was great. Like there wasn't anything that was like where you wrinkle your nose at it and you're like, what the, you know what I mean? It was just kind of like, oh, wow, this is kind of a straight edge type of movie that has a pretty obvious plot, but it was very engaging at every step of the way. And I thought that was probably Damon's best work, in my opinion.
I would agree. Yeah, like I said, I could take it or leave it with Damon. You know, Matt Damon, if he's in it, cool, like the Bourne Identity films or whatever, you know, but I'm not hunting down Matt Damon films.
You're not Goodwill hunting them down?
No, that was good. But I actually really loved this film when it first came out. I actually own this movie. And it was, like you said, there's such a high rewatchability to this one. You could put it on any timing and actually get some value out of it. Because it straddles the line between personal narrative and nearly believable science movie.
Yeah,
like it's not over the top science fiction. There's not lasers and you know stuff like that. It feels like something like this could actually happen. And from the book, from what I understand, this movie was a really good adaptation of the book, and but it really puts you in that position because of the narration that's going on overhead, which is done by Matt Damon. It really pulls you in to actually personalize the experience that he's in, and brings in enough lighthearted comedy that you don't feel like you're being busted over the head with slapsticky nonsense or stuff that wouldn't happen. But just like, oh man, that's funny if that actually, you know, if you had to do that,
right?
Kind of realistic kind of real life humor.
Well, what I thought was brilliant was they even tied in modern era problems to this story. Like they have to rely on China to use parts to get a capsule back in space at one point, and there's like real, oh, we don't necessarily get along. Like if we tip our hand, then the Americans will know about this program. And it's like, well, why don't we just, the science communities get together and help each other out, like International Space Station type of stuff. And that probably would never happen, but kind of cool that they even thought to like put that whole scene in there where it describes, oh, this would be a very difficult thing to pull off if we try to do this based on real world geopolitical scenarios without tipping a political hat. You know what I mean? I thought it was really good. The way they did that was like, it's very clever and easily digestible. And
it was, the whole movie was intelligent, but in an accessible way.
Yeah, exactly right. That's the best way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah. So you didn't feel like they had to dumb anything down for the audience, but at the same time, it didn't feel like it was.
Chat says Interstellar is after Matt had too many trips to Mars. Facts.
That is true. That is true.
That's what happens when you're out there for too long. That's great observation, Paul.
Yeah. But yeah, so I would agree with you 100% even on the rating. I would give it 8.5 toothy end megs. Yeah. And the rewatchability of it, in fact, I may watch that tonight because I haven't seen it in years. And the fact that really you brought it up is yeah. So
really good.
Yeah, it was a wonderful film. I don't even remember if there was anything that it kept me captivated from beginning to end. And in fact, I think the first time I watched it was in my car when I had my Nissan Armada and I was driving back and forth and I had the big giant TV screen in it and modded so I could watch movies while I was driving. But I think I watched it on one of my trips over to Seattle. Yeah. And it was like completely captivating. And I ended up having to watch it again while I wasn't driving. And I caught so much more. There's so much depth to that film because of the cast and because of the writing and because, like you said, all the kind of little things, the real world stuff that they pulled in that you catch and kind of have to kind of play over in your brain. but just highly entertaining film. The Martian was deserved of any awards that I think it got that year. I can't remember, but I believe it was up there in the award ceremony. So, but 8.5 easy. So
excellent. Well, move on into Primal. You've described this series on the show before. I know this is one of the ones you've been sort of evangelizing to some of your friends based on concept, right? Like this is a really cool concept. Yeah. And so a season 3 quietly popped up out of nowhere that you bit into, or?
Yes. So at the end, for people who don't know, Primal is based off of the Robert Howard short story that came out before he wrote Conan. So back in the 1920s, he wrote a bunch of short stories, and Spear and Fang was one of the short stories. This is an animated series from Genndy. I always have a hard time with his last name. Tartakovsky. Genndy Tartakovsky. He's known for Samurai Jack and some other things. He's a well-known kind of animation creator.
Sure.
And he brings you into these worlds where he took this story from Robert Howard and just blessed it and put everything he had into it. And Primal is the story of a kind of a fictitious Earth where civilization is butted up with dinosaurs and cavemen.
Right.
And obviously before, even from a Darwinian perspective, which I don't buy into any of it, but even if you're looking at it from a concept of long-term evolution, those would never have touched.
Right.
You would never see Allosauruses with like early Egyptian stuff, right? But
Jurassic Park should have been named Cretaceous Period Park. ... Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
But for the beauty of the writing of this story, let's suspend that and say that this is at the precipice of when civilization started launching out of the caveman era. And you've got this caveman who tragically loses his family, and it shows it. And it's probably one of the most violent, gory, brutal shows I've ever watched, but in the best way, because it's so full of heart and so full of integrity throughout the whole thing. You really ride with these characters.
And if memory serves, there's no dialogue at all in Primal. Yeah.
Zero. It's grunts and roars. Grunts and roars until you start getting into the latter part of the second season, and he starts getting involved with like early Celts and early Egyptians and early civilizations, where he ends up becoming an adversary to all of them or an ally to some of them. But they have dialogue that is actually real dialogue from early ancient like Pict or Celt dialogue. And so it's unused languages and the earliest of Egyptian unused language. And there's very little in there, but there's no English or no modern languages at all in it, and very little dialogue even in that regard. But it's mainly just the way that he depicts the animation with body language, facial expressions, tone, lighting, energy. He's a master at creating the narrative without having to use words. And it is so heartfelt about tragedy and the coming together of a dinosaur who went through the same tragedy, begrudgingly befriending a human who went through or a caveman who went through the same tragedy, and going on ventures together and living out their lives and learning to respect each other through this course of time, and running into civilizations and all these things. And it ends in season 2 in a really kind of cathartic way that was one of the best TV series endings I've ever seen. And it was so well done that I didn't expect a season 3. It didn't need it. I figured this is where the short story ended. Perfect. Well, season 3 got announced, and that was 2023 is when the last one happened. Season 3 got announced like in early, like mid 2024.
Sure.
And I was like, what? We'll see if that actually happens. Well, it just launched on Adult Swim a couple nights ago. And then after, it'll launch on Sundays. Each episode comes on at 11:30 on Adult Swim on Sundays. And then the following day, it'll be on HBO Max. So I'll have to watch it on HBO Max. But the first episode was this last Sunday. And I got a chance to watch it, and it stopped my Legos. I could not put Legos together because I was watching it. And it literally had me pulled in because it explains his return so beautifully and perfectly that you're like, okay, well, this makes sense to him coming back. And
we're all the way back now.
But now he is back. He is not quite the same as he was when he dies in the last one. But the adventure continues, and I'm very much looking forward to it. That first episode was a banger right out of the gate. And so I'm very happy. And once the series wraps up, it's probably 8 episodes or so. Once it wraps up, I'll come back and give you an update on the entirety of the series. I thought that they were going to drop it all at once, and they didn't, and I was disappointed at first, and then I actually was like, nah, actually I'm looking forward to waiting week to week on this one. So but yeah, that's my review so far. I mean, gauged off the first one, it's a 9 megs out of the gate.
Nice.
So
well, I hope the end of season 3 is not disappointing, and it's also ending as well as season 2 could have. Yeah.
I hope so too. Yeah. So, that being said, let's talk Tron.
Sure.
Tron Ares.
Yep.
I watched that this week. It happened to drop on Disney Plus. And my son and his girlfriend had gone to see it. Now, they have different standards than I do when it comes to movies. They enjoyed it, but at that age, I pretty much enjoyed anything as well. That being said, did I hate Tron Ares? I'm gonna say no. I didn't hate it. I liked it just fine. But that seems to be the running theme of the Tron movies. The 1980s Tron movie is actually quite boring. If you go back and rewatch it, the only thing that makes people really attached to that movie is nostalgia, is because at that time frame in the 80s, it was a technology that hadn't been used. It was something on the screen that nobody had seen before, and it had potential to build off of narratively. That never happened. They let it die, and then they tried to revitalize it and tried to turn it into a franchise back in 2010 with Tron Legacy. Now, Tron Legacy, much like Tron 1, had a lot of beautiful imagery and even an amazing soundtrack from
the Nine Inch Nails
Daft
guy, right?
Punk.
Oh, Daft Punk.
This was Daft Punk. So, and it was gorgeous. It had gorgeous people in it.
It did.
It had awesome light cycle stuff. It had awesome fight scenes and chase scenes, but really kind of hollow when it came to the substance and the kind of technology. Like, you're like, this feels 8-track in a digital world, and you're trying to put lights and you're putting LEDs on an 8-track is what it feels like.
Yes.
And so, but it didn't feel as if there was enough substance to kind of push it through to be a next Star Wars or be another like future alternate universe kind of sci-fi Matrix level kind of thing, right? Which is kind of what they're trying to do with this. Visually stunning, sounds great, kind of fun action, but very forgettable when it comes down to the end of it. Tron Ares shows up, and we get who other than Jared Leto, Jared Leto and Nine Inch Nails.
Yep.
More pretty people, more kind of electronica.
This is where, like, I am a big fan of Jared Leto, the actor, through the large body of work that he's produced. If you single him out in the roles that he's been in, he does an awesome job. Unfortunately for Jared Leto, he was playing Jared Leto in this movie.
Yes.
This is the first time, because even like I rewatch way more than I should. Blade Runner 2049. Which is, I like that whole universe. Which is odd because I'm on the fence with the Alien universe, which is the same universe. But he did a pretty outstanding job of being a bone-chilling guy, even in that. But kind of since that movie, it's just been Jared Leto playing Jared Leto.
Right.
I don't know. I was kind of like, all this could be good because he's renowned for like throwing 100% of himself into every role, like in a method actor perspective or whatever. And I was just kind of twiddling thumbs through this whole movie. And I was like, oh, even Jared Leto couldn't fucking save us from Tron Ares. It was just, again, the effects were kind of cool. The score, I thought, was better than the soundtrack. The sound effects they used in that movie are outstanding. I think better than even the visual effects. But the plot was way thinner than even the second Tron, in my opinion. And I was just like, dude, this is lame.
The source code.
This is so lame.
Yeah.
I
really was.
I wasn't buying in at all. I wanted it to be good.
But I didn't hate it.
No,
I didn't hate it. It was fine. It's
a background
popcorn movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, background popcorn movie.
Yeah.
It didn't wow me, but it also didn't, like, I wasn't going, what? This is horrible throughout the whole thing. It was just good enough. And that seems to be the mantra of Tron, is just good enough.
I was trying to figure out where they were going to diverge, where would I see deltas from the Pinocchio story in this movie, and I just couldn't find any. It was Pinocchio in a high-tech world.
Yeah. And what a waste of Gillian Anderson.
Yeah.
Like, you bring Gillian Anderson in to play the dude's mom, but like totally waste her. Like, she didn't have a purpose in this. She should have been the bad guy.
Yeah.
You know, and not that I what's the kid's name? He was in American Horror Story and played in the X-Men movies as Quicksilver. But anyway, he, you know, she should have been the bad guy. Not that I dislike Evan Peters. He's especially great in a villain role. He just felt shoehorned in here, and she would have made a much colder
I was
adversary.
expecting there to be a twist where it was like her the whole time, like the driving force behind all the villainy, and I was like, oh, we're not even gonna get that. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. And the other main characters from the sisters and all of that, they were so cardboard that I didn't care about them. And they tried to force a care point in there with the sister dying of cancer or whatever, but it was so flat that it didn't matter. The comedic relief characters didn't really land. And it was either too little or too much. Like, they didn't find the happy medium there. So I don't know. It was like a popcorn background movie. I'd say I gave it 6 megs.
My thought, that's generous. My thought on this, and I'll have to look at the timeline, but I'm wondering how much of this movie was written in Hollywood by AI during that period of time.
Oh, that makes sense.
You know, because
that makes sense. Yeah,
it was so.
Now that you mention it, it felt like an AI movie. Like the script, the dialogue. You're correct.
It was point to point to point to point, and none of them were even tangentially related. You had an overarching theme that was like pretty easy to look right through the whole time, and the rest was just be entertained by the scene in front of you. the
Yeah.
whole film. And it was like, okay, well, where are we going to get to the, well, we're not. Okay.
Yeah.
I truly
Yeah.
think that was an AI written film or principally written by AI. That's my thought. Because there was a
would
period
make
of time
sense to
there when
me.
they were doing that shortly before mid to late 2024 releases. So all this 23, 24 script and principal photography films, many of them were written by AI. And then
Man,
you
now
had the
that you
whole
bring it up,
Screen Actors Guild stuff fighting back and all that shit. Which I'm not an entertainment guy, so I don't really follow that, but I'm a big follower of what the hell is AI doing these days, and that's why it hit my radar back then. But I'll have to check the dates. That's what it feels like to me, is that was probably written by ChatGPT 3.0. So
yeah, I would imagine, because yeah, dude, there was a movie, now that you bring it up, there's certain movies that have come out that have felt that way.
Yeah.
That I didn't
Oh, yeah.
realize until you pointed it out. That movie, I think I reviewed it, Playdate, with
Yeah.
Kevin James and that big dude,
the guy from Reacher.
Alan Ritchson.
Yeah.
The way that plot laid out didn't make sense to me in the fabric of how most scripts are written, or even original scripts or cool scripts are written. It was so disconjointed, and then it like went into like this weird.
There's no scene
almost,
theory at all in these scripts. It's just point to point to point to point, and then be entertained with the scene that we're showing you at the moment, and then the movie's over at some point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like the absurdity level that this movie went into was like, what's the Spy Kids movies where it's so corny and weird, and like it started off one movie and ended up in Spy Kids territories of like that level of absurdity and weirdness, and it felt so disconjointed that it didn't make the writing didn't. I was like, did they just give up? And now that you bring up the AI thing, I was like, no, that movie was written by AI.
Yeah, they probably did give up, dumped what they had into an LLM and said, finish this. And they went, good enough.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So that's crazy.
I can't back that up, obviously. That's me being pissy pantsy about the fact that I wanted Tron to become cool. But at the end of the day, that's my thought on it. And I gave it 4 megs because I do like the score. There is some visually cool stuff in there. And they do have, for what it's worth, very good actors that they cast for these parts, but they just didn't hit. It wasn't like a wild miscasting of a character like some other films we could bring up. But yeah, I was like, man, even Jared Leto is playing Jared Leto. This is not a good Leto. I never know how to pronounce that, but
every one of us, though, I think as Americans for some reason, we really want Tron to succeed. It feels like a classic 80s Americana institution that doesn't seem to land properly. And I think we all just in our hearts want Tron to actually be cool, and it's just not cool.
Yeah.
And it's a bummer, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, with that being said, I've got an Overlord tip.
Let's do it.
Number 13 this week. Yeah.
13. We've given you a dozen tips on how to become an effective evil overlord. This is number 13. This is Paul's evil overlord tips. It's been on the internet since the late 90s. It's one of the very first artifacts I've ever found when I was first merging onto the information superhighway.
And it
holds up
perfection too.
It's great.
Yeah, it does. So
a few of them are like, all right, but on the whole, it's pure gold.
On the whole,
yeah,
yep. So number 13, there's a way to do things. There's a process, and it needs to be done in the process, because otherwise you end up getting surprised, and no overlord likes surprises.
Right. So you gotta stick to the plan. There's a method.
Stick to the plan. So all slain enemies, if you kill your enemy, or at least have or will be cremated
Yeah.
immediately. You cremate them, get rid of the body, like make sure that they're not just sitting in with a couple of rounds in their bodies and they get put in the bottom of a river and then they float up and some medicine man cures them.
Effective
And then all
bad
of a sudden
guying 101. Cremate them right away.
Right.
Get
Cremate
them a
them right away.
cookbook, whatever you got to do. Yep.
Or at least have several rounds of ammunition emptied into them,
Sure.
not left for dead at the bottom of the cliff.
You can't do it.
Don't do no.
That's leaving
The
too much to
medicine man
chance.
lives down there.
Yeah.
He'll always cure the hero, and the hero will then come and exact revenge later on, right?
Yep.
So, the announcement of their death, as well as any accompanying celebration, will be deferred until after the aforementioned disposals.
There you go.
You don't announce the deaths. You don't set yourself up for a surprise at the party.
Yeah.
Like where he shows up, he goes, "Look, like, thought I was dead, huh?"
Yeah.
And you look like an idiot.
Don't give
And
the
that's
hero a
really
chance,
primarily.
especially in
It's
public.
not even so much of that he's going to get you, because he'll probably get got again.
Well, it's credibility loss.
It's credibility loss, and it makes you look like a fool
Yeah.
in front of all your friends.
Unrecoverable as an evil overlord. Don't fall into the trap.
That's correct. So that is Overlord tip number 13.
Mhm.
Make sure you dispose of your enemies immediately.
It's great.
So that way you don't have any hiccups later on. So
Well said. That was awesome. Well, I'll throw it out there. If anyone wants to reach out to us, you can hit us up on the socials. You can reach out to us on relicspodcast@gmail.com. That's all I got for this week. That's it.
same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going into my week, but I'll be checking the socials. And then hopefully next week we will have Mrs. Lucky here to tell us about her adventures in Boise and
It'd be great.
her wrestling with Sharia law.
Yep. Stay tuned. It'll be good news. Hopefully good news.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We will see you then.